Hello everyone, I hope you're doing alright. So last week I made a video talking about how Muslims are basically infiltrating the Green Party and how crazy the Green Party is. It's been an interesting week and I love to be proven right. However, in this case, I'd rather have not. So today what we're talking about is the Gorton Denton by-election, the results of it and what happened with that. And as always, if you like this stuff, do like the video, subscribe, and feel free to comment about what happened this week. Anyway, we'll get into it. So, there was a by-election up in Gorton and Denton, which is a constituency in Greater Manchester. So on the screen, you can see the result. So the Green Party won with just under 15,000 votes. Matt Goodwin, you might see him, GB News presenter, now Reform candidate, he got just over 10,500. Then Labour, and then pretty much everyone else. So that was the result of it. Funny thing to mention, Sir Oinkalot from the Monster Raving Loony Party wasn't actually last this time. So well done to you, Monster Raving Loony Party. So what we're looking at essentially is the Greens managed to get a massive swing. So what's really happening is the Labour Party, obviously, I don't know how they got 10,000 votes almost, but there you go. But left-wingers are going to Green, and they managed to get a surge of even more votes. Wonder where that came from. So, let's find out. Firstly, just before the election, Sky News did a quick bit about this. So let's just hear what they had to say regarding to the demographics of the constituency.
Look at this. This is how Gorton and Denton split down by ethnic minority. And you can see in one part there is a large South Asian community in the sort of Gorton heart, whereas the Denton part is almost overwhelmingly white. And I think most Reform people would say that they were trying to mind voters in this part of the constituency. But here, I think this has largely been a battle between Labour and the Greens.
So straight away, as you can see, even Sky News are coming out and saying it. Where there's South Asian communities, so we're looking at like Pakistan, Bangladesh, things like that, that's where the left are now trying to farm their votes because they've given up on white or native British people. So when you've got a political party trying to run the country, but they're trying to get votes from non-British people, you can actually see almost straight away sort of what the end goal is. So that's the first thing. Second thing is Zach Polanski. I mentioned him last week, the guy who tried to hypnotise the woman's breasts larger. He had a quick chat with Sky News. So let's have a quick see what they said.
How was legalising drugs, legalising prostitution and greater protection for trans rights and trans people put to a Muslim community in Gorton and Denton?
It was put to a Muslim community and, in fact, frankly, the whole community, because the Green Party just ran an election there where they ran an astounding victory of over 4,000 majority.
Were those particular policies in your leaflets, your Urdu leaflets?
We had Urdu leaflets because people speak Urdu, and we had Bangladesh.
Those policies, were they in there, Mr. Polanski?
I mean, what's the assumption behind your question here? Because it sounds...
Well, conservative communities might not support some of those policies. We're not here to litigate whether or not they're right or not. I'm talking about conservative communities potentially might not be supportive of policies that legalise prostitution, drugs, and increase rights for trans people.
I think there's some deep assumptions there about what a conservative community is, but here's what I would say more widely. I said it when I became the leader of the Green Party, is you don't need to agree with me on everything. You need to agree with core values and fundamentals of the Green Party and what I'm putting forward. If anyone agrees with me on everything, then that's weird. Actually, what we need to do is build bridges. And look, I'm really proud that a constituency as diverse as Gorton and Denton just voted for a female plumber by a party that has a gay Jewish man as a leader. What I saw on the streets of Gorton and Denton is community.
All right, so as you notice, he didn't actually answer the question. Okay, so what's being pointed out is the Green Party, they had the standard political campaigning, legalise drugs, gay rights, all this nonsense. Then they actually did adverts in Urdu, which is a dialect from South Asia. And essentially, they were pandering to the South Asian vote. And what the Sky News host just said there was, were these policies in your Urdu leaflets? I haven't seen the Urdu leaflets. I don't speak Urdu. Could easily get them translated. But the fact that Zach didn't actually answer it probably goes to show then that they will say one thing to the white lefties, and they'll say another thing to the South Asian people, because as I mentioned before, Muslims, because these are predominantly Muslims, they're very conservative, they're very traditional. The only reason they don't fight right wing is because right wing traditional values aren't the same as theirs, so it doesn't make sense to them. So they'll vote for a left wing party, and as I mentioned this in my video last week, please go check it out if you haven't seen it already. They're going to just use the left to just destroy the country's culture and traditions and then implant their own, which is the whole goal. That's it. So, yeah, they're just pandering to the different groups. So, what we're looking at here as well then is there was a bit of an issue with the voting this week. So, there's this thing called family voting. Now, family voting was actually outlawed in 2023 with a bill. Now, what family voting is where you go to the polling booths and you take your family to the booth with you. You all get a polling card each, and then you basically vote together as a family. That's illegal. And the reason it's illegal is because essentially a member of the family could coerce, threaten, force other members of their family to vote a certain way. The idea of voting is that every person gets a vote. Not sure why South Asians get a vote in Britain, but there we go. So to have, let's say, a Muslim family where the father is basically the head of the house with his multiple wives and whatnot. Obviously, the wife is all burqa'd up. Obviously, you can just say to them, we're voting for this person. That's it. And obviously the wife's going to do it, because if she turns around and says no, well, she's going to get beaten when she gets home. So it's illegal. Now, for those who have been to polling booths, the people who are usually there are little old biddy ladies, and they're not going to do anything about it, are they? So there's an organisation called Democracy Volunteers. They went to a bunch of these polling booths. They saw it throughout the day, so it's probably happened a lot more than it's been. They saw 32 cases. That's probably obviously a lot more than that. So yeah, Greens are using migrants and illegal voting to get in. So wonderful. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Zia Yusuf, you know him, the pretend shadow Home Secretary for Reform, Muslim. He's got this map of basically they took the swing state sats from that Gorton by-election and they've extended them to the rest of the country. And they're saying, if this was to happen, what the rest of the country looked like, as you can see there, it'd be a reform landslide. So whilst it is absolutely terrifying of what's happening with the Green Party, you can see on the map, it is obviously restricted to certain areas. So that's essentially what we're done talking about today. Now, as I said, it's absolutely terrible that the Greens are openly just pandering to the Muslim community. The fact that the Muslim communities in these areas are basically kingmakers, they can exercise that power. And as I showed you in the last video, we've got some very big Labour hitters who are going to be beholden to the Muslim vote. So recently, Keir Starmer did announce like £40 million in like extra mosque funding or some nonsense like that. The left is now completely pandering to the Muslim vote because in these constituencies, they are kingmakers. And we all know what MPs are like. They will do absolutely anything just to keep their seat, even give up, their actual values. Whilst at the moment, by looking at that map, it doesn't look like it's going to create, a huge outcome to the rest of the country. You're definitely going to get a bunch of MPs, even if they're not in the majority and not in government, who are still going to be pushing through Islamic values, Islamic policies, getting Islamic lobbying because they want to keep their seat. They don't actually care about what they believe in. They just want to have the status, the power, and the money from being in Parliament. And let's not forget, we're currently letting in a lot more people. Now, in America, before Trump got re-elected, they had an open southern border. And the absolute concern was, and it was actually proven to be true, that they let in all these illegal migrants, give them the right to vote, and then essentially have them go to swing states where the Democrats would be able to win every single election because they would look after the legal migrants and the Republicans wouldn't. We are going to be seeing something similar to that here, and it is happening already. We've let in, 1.2 million people in the last few years alone. They're all, if there's one political party saying, listen, we love migrants, we're never going to kick you out, we'll give you citizenship, you'll have access to benefits, we'll give you a house, of course they're going to keep voting them in. And there's every boat that comes in, every illegal that comes through, even every legal migrant that comes through, if they're being told, right, you can have a vote, but it's in your best interest to vote left, they're going to do it, aren't they? So, yeah, nice short, sweet one today. And as I said, I got proven right from last week. We literally saw the Muslim vote put this pretend plumber in Parliament now so that she can have a say on policy making and maybe even try and push through some of their looniness into government. This needs to stop. Restore Britain are probably actually the only party that is actually going to do something about this, and maybe not the next election, but the next elections after that. If Reform win and they don't actually have a tough stance on migration, then we're looking at left-wing parties winning for forever, until eventually there's enough of them in this country that they take over, and what happened to Iran will happen to us. So, hope you liked the video. Do subscribe to see more. Do like it if you did like it. And guys, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.